What's up guys, welcome back my YouTube channel. I will telling about top 2 ultra rare coin from East Africa. The 1942 East Africa 1 center coin is one of those fascinating pieces of numismatic history that quietly carries the story of an entire region, a colonial era, and the hardship of a world at war. This small bronze coin, simple at first glance, has traveled across decades with its own tale of culture, empire, and collector's value. Today, we dive into the full story of the 1942 East African 1 center, exploring its origin, its symbolic design, its mintage history, and how collectors view its value today. The coin belonged to the British colonial monetary system used in East Africa, a region that included Kenya, Uganda, Tanganyika, and Zanzibar under British administration. During the early 20th century, these territories did not have separate coinage. Instead, they shared a common East African currency issued by the East African Currency Board. The goal was to unify trade, simplify taxation, and maintain stronger economic control over the region. The 1-cent coin was one of the lower denominations, but in daily life it had real importance for local transactions, small purchases, and market exchanges. In 1942, the world was in the middle of the Second World War, and even coin production was affected. Many metals were redirected to military needs, while mints worked under pressure to maintain currency supplies for colonies where economic activity continued. The 1942 1-cent coin is instantly recognizable because of one signature feature, its circular hole in the center. This hole design is one of the reasons the East African coinage is so visually distinctive. The design choice wasn't purely aesthetic. The central hole made the coins easy to carry on strings, which was convenient for local communities. It also reduced metal use when metal supplies were scarce, especially during wartime. The British administration saw the holed coin as a practical and efficient way to conserve resources while still keeping the currency durable. The obverse of the coin features the crown portrait of King George VI, who ruled from 1936 to 1952. His titles appear around the rim, reinforcing the presence of British authority in the region. Coins from this era weren't just currency, they were subtle instruments of political messaging, reminding local populations that they were subjects of the British Empire. The portrait of George VI on the 1942 1 cent is particularly important historically. This was produced during the time when the United Kingdom was fully engaged in World War II, and the king served as a symbol of strength and stability for both Britain and its colonies. On the reverse side, the East Africa 1 cent coin displays the denomination and the iconic hole design surrounded by inscriptions that read East Africa, and the year of issue, 1942. The inscription also includes the denomination, 1 cent, and the Arabic numeral at the bottom, bridging the region's diverse linguistic and cultural influences. The design reflects practicality mixed with artistic simplicity. It's not overly decorated, but its appearance is unmistakable and, for many collectors, quite beautiful. Because of the wartime era, production of the 1942 1 cent was large enough to meet economic needs but still limited by metal availability. These coins were minted in copper or bronze and struck at various mints depending on resource availability. Minting for East African coins often took place in Britain, particularly at the Royal Mint, though some years also saw production at overseas mints. Even in 1942, the minting process had to adapt to shortages and transportation challenges caused by the war. Despite the wide circulation the coin once enjoyed, surviving examples today vary in condition. Coins that were heavily used in daily trade often show smooth surfaces, worn portraits, and marks around the hole. Coins in fine or very fine condition are still collectible and commonly available. Examples in extremely fine or uncirculated grades are far scarcer and command higher value in the numismatic market. Collectors especially value coins that retain their original color and sharp details, with the king's portrait still well defined and the inscriptions clearly readable. When it comes to value, the 1942 East Africa 1 center coin is generally accessible for beginners, yet still interesting enough for advanced collectors. In circulated condition, the coin usually sells for a modest price, often between $1 and $5 depending on wear. Coins in better preservation, especially those with minimal wear, sharp edges, and rich original color, can fetch higher prices, typically ranging from $10 to $15. High-grade examples, particularly uncirculated coins, can go for even more. Some exceptional pieces, especially those certified by grading services, may reach values above $20 or $30. The value also varies slightly depending on the mint, rarity of the batch, and overall demand among collectors. The East African series has a loyal collector base because the coins combine colonial history with distinctive design. This makes the 1942 1 cent a great entry point for anyone interested in British colonial coinage or African monetary history. Many collectors also love completing year sets of East African hold coins, and 1942 is one of the popular years due to its wartime significance. The fact that the coin was minted during such a turbulent period in world history gives it extra character and historical weight. What makes this coin especially appealing is its connection to daily life in East Africa during the 1940s. People used this exact coin in small markets, on busy streets, and in local shops. It passed through the hands of farmers, traders, laborers, and families living under British colonial rule. Each piece carries silent stories of that era. For collectors today, holding a 1942 coin feels like holding a small piece of living history, preserving memories of a region that has since transformed dramatically. Even though its monetary value wasn't high back then, its historic value today is priceless to anyone who appreciates world coins. It is a reminder of the economic systems of the past, the spread of empire, and the everyday lives of people who lived through World War II far from the battlegrounds but still affected by the global turmoil. The 1942 East Africa 1 center coin remains a cherished collectible because it bridges history, design, and affordability. Whether you are a new collector exploring world coins or an experienced numismatist completing a set, this coin offers a remarkable connection to the early 20th century. Its unique hold structure, its portrait of King George VI, its wartime origin, and its lasting charm continue to attract collectors around the globe. It stands as a tribute to a region's colonial past, a world at war, and a currency that once served millions of people across East Africa. Next coin. The 1951 East Africa 10 cents coin is a small bronze piece that carries the weight of a fascinating and complex history. Though humble in size and simple in design, this coin represents an era of dramatic political changes, colonial administration, and the cultural diversity of the East African region. Today, collectors around the world seek this coin not only for its numismatic value but also for the story it tells about life in East Africa during the mid-20th century. When we talk about East African coins, we are referring to a currency system that served several territories under British administration, including Kenya, Uganda, Tanganyika, and Zanzibar. These territories shared a unified monetary authority known as the East African Currency Board, often called the EACB. The board was responsible for issuing coins and banknotes from 1919 until the early 1960s, just before the wave of independence movements swept through the region. In many ways, the coins issued during that time, especially those from the 1940s and 1950s, reflect a world that was changing rapidly. The 1951 10 cents coin is made of bronze, giving it a warm, earthy color that still shines beautifully when found in good condition. It weighs about 5.6 grams and measures 25.5 millimeters in diameter. What makes the coin instantly recognizable is its distinctive central hole, a design element that sets East African coins apart from many others around the world. The circular hole was not just a stylistic choice. It was intended to help people differentiate coins by touch, making it easier for both locals and colonial administrators to identify denominations quickly. This feature also allowed multiple coins to be strung together for convenience, something that had practical value in everyday markets. On the obverse side of the 1951 10 cents coin, we find the portrait of King George VI, who served as the British monarch from 1936 until his passing in 1952. The portrait is dignified and regal, reflecting the style and engraving standards of the royal mint during that era. Around the portrait is the inscription, George VI King Emperor, a reminder that these territories were part of the British Empire. This inscription would disappear shortly after the king's death, making the coins from the final years of his reign historically notable for collectors. The reverse of the coin features the words East Africa at the top and 10 cents at the bottom, circling around the central hole. The date, 1951, sits proudly below the central circle. The design is simple but effective, showcasing the identity of the region while keeping the denomination clear and easy to read. The reverse design remained fairly consistent for several years, helping to build a recognizable coinage system across East Africa. To understand why the 1951 issue is interesting, we must look at what was happening during that time. The early 1950s were a period of increasing political tension in British-ruled Africa. People in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanganyika were becoming more politically active, calling for greater representation and freedom. The economies of these territories were also evolving, influenced by agriculture, trade, and growing urban centers. Currency played an important role in this development, and coins like the 10 cents became essential tools for everyday life. From small purchases in local markets to official transactions, the 10 cents coin was widely circulated and heavily used. Because these coins were used so extensively, finding well-preserved examples today is not always easy. Most surviving pieces show moderate wear, especially around the edges and the central hole. Still, many collectors value even the worn coins because they carry real historical character. A heavily circulated 1951 10 cents coin might have passed through the hands of farmers, merchants, colonial officers, railway workers, or schoolchildren, each adding a layer to the coin's story. In the world of numismatics, the value of the 1951 East Africa 10 cents coin depends largely on its condition. Coins in average circulated condition are generally affordable. They may sell for around $1 to $3, depending on wear. Slightly better preserved examples, known as fine or very fine, can fetch higher prices. When the coin is found in extremely fine or uncirculated condition, something that is far less common, the value increases noticeably. Uncirculated coins, with their sharp details and original mint luster, can sell for much higher amounts, sometimes reaching $10 to $20 or more, depending on the market. Another factor that affects its value is collector interest. East African coins have a strong international collector base because they represent a unique blend of British colonial history and African heritage. The coins are also attractive to collectors who appreciate unusual designs, especially those featuring central holes. For these reasons, the 1951 10 cents coin remains consistently popular, even though it is not considered extremely rare. What makes this coin especially appealing is the historical transition it represents. The early 1950s were the last years of King George VI's reign, and the end of the era marked major political and cultural shifts. Just a few years after 1951, Queen Elizabeth II would ascend the throne, and new coins would gradually replace those bearing her father's portrait. At the same time, independence movements in East Africa would gain strength. By the early 1960s, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanganyika were on their way to becoming independent nations, each developing its own currency system. This means that the 1951 10 cents coin is one of the last pieces from a time when the entire region shared a single monetary identity. Collectors and historians today appreciate the coin not only for its design but also for its place in this broader timeline. Holding one of these coins feels like holding a part of the region's shared heritage. It symbolizes a moment before the countries of East Africa carved their own paths as independent nations. The coin's simple bronze composition and central hole make it visually striking, but its true value lies in the story it tells. Many coin enthusiasts enjoy acquiring coins from the East African series because they allow a collector to trace the evolution of the region from colonial rule to independence. The 1951 10 cents coin fits perfectly into that narrative. It is a piece that beginners can afford to add to their collection, while advanced collectors seek out higher-grade examples to complete their sets. For anyone interested in the history of Africa, the British Empire, or mid-20th century coinage, the 1951 East Africa 10 cents coin is a fascinating item. Its design reflects practical needs, its inscriptions reflect political realities, and its legacy reflects the resilience and diversity of the region. What may appear as a simple bronze coin is actually a doorway to the past, a reminder of how interconnected history can be, even through the smallest objects. Today, the 1951 10 cents coin remains a treasured collectible, valued not only for its monetary worth but also for the story it carries. From the bustling markets of Nairobi to the shores of Zanzibar, from colonial administration offices to ordinary homes, this coin touched countless lives. Its journey across decades and across continents continues today through the collections of people who appreciate its meaning. And while it may no longer be used in everyday transactions, it continues to circulate in a different way, through history, through storytelling, and through the hands of collectors who recognize its lasting significance.